and a beating, and settling scores seems to be the priority. While the government wants to portray the opposition as petulant and impatient, hell-bent on creating roadblocks to dialogue and discussion, especially in Parliament, the opposition is hammering the government over their MP being involved in issuing the visitors pass to these intruders. Are we missing the larger point here? Is politics trumping national security? We'll take that question to our guests in just a bit. But first, take a look at the political fight which is ongoing between the opposition and the centre over the suspension of 14 MPs, all opposition MPs. Now, the opposition is adamant that Home Minister Amit Shah must give a statement in Parliament, while the government or the BJP is only coming out to say that this is a sensitive matter and that opposition must behave properly. Opposition demands that government should suspend the MP, Pratap Simha, who gave the recommendation for the visitors pass to the intruders. BJP says that the opposition is not going to achieve anything by creating obstacles. The opposition was also saying that 14 MPs were suspended only for questioning the government, while of course the BJP or the government maintains that the opposition MPs have been suspended for their unruly behaviour inside the house, something that cannot be condoned. Now, the BJP has, as I mentioned, added a new dimension to this case. They say that the conspirator Lalit Jha is an India-backed Maoist. These are some of the statements that have come in from BJP leaders. Now, Lalit Jha's links, so as to say, have come out with the TMC. Lalit Jha is a member of the TMC and was seen with TMC MLA Tapas Roy, is what leaders of the BJP are saying. They have even released an image to support their claim, but do photographs prove enough? Amit Malviya, meanwhile, BJP's IT cell head, has claimed that the advocate Asim Sarore, who has offered to represent these intruders in court, also has a link with the Congress. He has gone on to say that Sarore was actually an active participant of Bharat Jodo Yatra and was seen with Rahul Gandhi. Now, at least the TMC has responded very sharply on the allegations or the link that has been drawn between them and Lalit Jha, one of the accused in this case. They claim the allegations are childish and that there is no circumstantial evidence to tie the two. As I said, is a photograph enough? They also allege that these are attempts by the BJP to shield their own Mysuru MP Pratap Sinha, who was actually the one whose office gave the passes to these visitors. One of the accused actually hails from his constituency, but not the rest. TMC also claims that these allegations are a proof of, quote, fear emanating from demands of Home Minister Shah's resignation. Remember, yesterday itself, TMC had become one of the first parties to openly ask for the Home Minister's resignation on this matter. The question we ask today is simply this. As far as this Parliament security breach is concerned, is politics trumping what should have been a more serious, more somber discussion on how to secure the Indian Parliament further and on national security?
Home Minister Amit Shah is telling that Congress is politicizing issues, opposition is politicizing issues. Where is the politicization? This issue happened on the anniversary of Parliament attack.
दोनों बिल्डिंग जो है ये स्पीकर के अधीन आता है, स्पीकर के कार्यक्षेत्र में आता है। स्पीकर साहब ने जो कुछ भी आदेश दिया सर्वदलीय बैठक बुला के, वो आदेश सरकार इन लेटर एंड स्पिरिट हम फॉलो कर रहे हैं।
ये टीएमसी विधायक तापस राय है, उसका क्षेत्र का एमपी है सुदीप बंदोपाध्याय।
I do not know the miscreant, neither by name nor face, and this is something childish.
Hello, Moto.
Let's go across to our guest joining us. Charu Pragya is the BJP spokesperson. JB Mathur is from Rajya Sabha MP of the Congress Party. Tausif Rahman from the TMC and Yashovardhan Azad is former Special Director of the Intelligence Bureau, all joining us on the show. A big thanks to all of you. JB Mathur, let me come with you. The Congress, of course, is very upset. Most of the suspended MPs come from the Congress Party, and they've raised this point that, this is not how democracies should function. All that the Congress MPs were asking for was for a statement from the government or especially the Home Minister. But what do you make of the charge coming in from the Treasury benches, which is that this is not the way to, ask for what you want in the House. Nobody has ever denied for a statement or a discussion, but the Congress and the opposition parties are obstructionist in their behavior.
Yeah, it is very unfortunate that an incident of this magnitude has happened in the highest and the secured place like Parliament. Some infiltrators have intruded and jumped from the gallery with canisters in hand and smokes coming. Such a serious incident, has happened. Just imagine for a moment, what if the gas was some siren or something which could have, which was poisonous, and the disaster that could have happened.
Right.
The fact is a fact that there is a total security breach that happened. Now, firstly, the first and immediate step should have been definitely who gave the pass. But it is, it is an utter shame that whoever has given the pass is given VIP treatment, and he is not being questioned. He is not being asked. There's nothing against him. He is still continuing in Parliament. And
but do you believe that the blame, one second, since you raised this point, do you really believe that that's the argument, that the blame of the actions of these intruders could be laid on the door of the MP whose office issued the passes?
See, that is one part of it, one point of it, that since I'm coming to the suspension of MPs, I'm saying suspension of MPs, when the MPs are demanding for a statement from the Home Minister, first of all, these people do not give answers for anything happening outside the Parliament, across the country, about Manipur or price rise, they do not answer. But for something that has happened inside the Parliament, at least, Home Minister is bound to come and give a statement to the Parliament. See, there's no sense of accountability.
The BJP has narrated some previous cases that have happened, and they've said that in any of those cases where similar breaches happened, the Home Minister was not asked to respond. The Lok Sabha Speaker was the one who actually took it further. So why this exception in this case?
This is, we are seriously demanding, because the Home Minister has all the time to go to a channel program and explain and answer about the breach that has happened in Parliament. When Parliament session is on, the sense of accountability is to the people and to the Parliament. So we are not saying, the least we are demanding is that they should come and make a statement. The Union Home Minister should come and make a statement, which they are not doing.
Yeah,
this shows how there is no sense of accountability for the this government.
Yeah, Charu Pragya, it's not to appropriate any blame. Or to blame that the government is only fundamentally responsible, although if it's a matter of security inside Parliament, even if it comes under the Lok Sabha Secretariat, there will be some political questions or political accountability asked for. But it's not so much to appropriate blame. Surely a statement should be forthcoming from none other than the Home Minister. It's not a big ask.
Shivani, let's go point-wise. One, my friend Jebby from the Congress sounds really upset that our Honorable Home Minister was speaking elsewhere, because he completely tore through their false agenda. He answered with facts, and I think that shakes up the opposition. Every single propaganda floated by them has been put to rest.
No, let's concern ourselves with only this. Even
yes, I'm coming to that, because
is it not a fair question? Is it not a fair question to ask?
He's not keeping his calendar.
Charu, is it not a fair one second, is it not a fair question to ask that when the Parliament is in session, the first statement from the Home Minister should come on the floor of the House?
When the Parliament is in session, in fact, anytime, anything that goes on inside the Parliament of India is under the supervision and responsibility of our Honorable Speaker. As soon as this very unfortunate incident occurred, the Speaker called the leaders of the floor for a quick meeting. He took suggestions to improve security. A lot of those suggestions have already been incorporated. What happened was very unfortunate. But let's also remember, what happened was very carefully planned, Shivani. It was not something which was done at the brink of a thought. It was planned for over a year. It was planned by people who can maybe come from across the country, from different cities, but they are united with one thread, and that is of a thought ideology of the urban Naxals. We know
so
that,
be it,
that.
But Charu,
have you heard these kind of slogans?
Charu, so be it. I don't agree with this kind of causeless, ruckus creating in Parliament. But it is.
Can I finish? my
even
last
if
point,
they come
Shivani.
from quote unquote,
Can I-
one second,
can
no,
I finish
Charu, I
speaking,
must say
Shivani?
this. No, one second,
At
I must say
every
this.
session
I've
of
heard this for too
Parliament.
long, for 2 days now. If they come
No.
from this so-called urban Naxal mentality, more so that
Who
the security,
encourages that?
no, more so
Who
that
is
the security of the
creating
parliament,
heroes out
more
of
so that the
people who
security
are
of
lobbyists
parliament
and
should have been
anti-nationals.
up to the task of not letting these individuals in. Ultimately, the
And-
buck stops with security.
And nobody
Regardless
is
of
running
who
away.
comes from what mentality
Shivani,
and ideology.
Shivani, nobody is running away from the responsibility and the loopholes in the security system. But tell me, is it a mere coincidence that every time the parliament is in session, the opposition finds something to disrupt the proceedings
No,
of the
you
House?
can't
which is
lay the blame
outside?
of this on the opposition just yet. I'm sorry. Not on
And
the act.
till the investigation is not concluded, what do they want everybody to speak about? The speaker is in charge. Unfortunate incidents like this have occurred in the past as well. Every single time the speaker has responded. What is so different this time? And
Okay.
tell me, what is it that the perpetrator said which is any different from what any members of the India Alliance keep saying?
Okay, I'll come to that topic a little bit separately, but I'm just discussing what should have happened in the aftermath of this episode. Tausif, before I come to you, I want to go across to Yashwardhan Azad. This point that the opposition is raising, that there should be action or suspension at least of the MP concerned, whose office made the pass for these visitors, is that a fair demand or is that also jumping the gun against the parliamentarian?
No, it's not a fair demand. Let me point out, Shivani, there are three critical aspects to this problem, this whole issue. First, the most important part is the breach of security, which I think people should concentrate more on. How did the breach of security take place? The breach of security took place at the point of screening. Why? Because the old monotonized protocols were being routinized all the time. Even now, there were no shoes which are being checked. And despite the heightened security which should have been there on that particular day, it was still the same routine and the accepted protocols were being followed. I don't even blame them for that because never before in the Parliament House the shoes are checked and your door frame metal detectors only check metals, they don't check non-metals. So secondly, the responsibility goes to the higher ups in the Parliament Security Group. Did they think of something called a backscatter technology? Backscatter technology, immediately detects the plastics or even an advanced technology has come. And now the second part is the investigation into who are these people. Well, whoever these people are, their links is being looked into by the anti-terrorist cell. But it's quite obvious that their link is not with the terrorist group or Panun or anybody. Their risk is with whether it's political or not, that's a different thing. Investigation is there. But the very fact that the government has put UAPA 16 and 18 is important enough for the Home Minister to make a statement in the House. Yes, it's a serious breach. We are going through an inquiry and within 2 days, this inquiry, Shivani, can be done within 1 day and a couple of hours and it can be immediately said what was the reason and what is the problem. Now the third part which you asked me about the MP. Since 1952, MPs have been issuing guest passes or applications in which they say, yes, they give an undertaking that I know the person, my relative, my friends or whatever. But in practice what happens is that anybody who comes, he is allowed to go. Now that is all right because for the simple reason in Parliament, you're supposed to give the name till 4 o'clock. But the passes are being issued also with the notice of 2 hours. So obviously in this case, background checks, etc. cannot be done. So that doesn't really matter as long as the person, even if he's a dacoit, and if he comes inside, if he's clean, then it's all right.
Yeah.
The idea is that while entering the parliament,
You
he
should be checked.
sanitized.
Yes, you
and
should be
in
checked
this case, the
thoroughly. Besides,
sanitization
I am not
failed.
sure
So-
if somebody else can
so
be
to-
held responsible. What can be held responsible for one judging your intentions, what you want to do with that pass, or be held responsible for your actions once you've gotten inside Parliament. So I think that's a separate matter. But Tausif, I want to come to you. If the opposition can throw this demand that because the pass was made by this BJP MP Pratap Sinha, then BJP is naturally asking the question, what about the links of this so-called mastermind Lalit Jha with your party and MLAs? Then it's a fair ask. If you make that ask, they will make that ask.
Well, Shivani, it's very clear. I mean, the photo is there. And I don't know whether this photo, when he clicked, what happened. And of course, what we are asking for is an inquiry. We are not stopping for any inquiry. You heard the MLA, respected MLA. He said that he doesn't know that person. Okay, I know you won't believe that. I mean, the BJP will not believe that. He said, I don't know the name as well. Okay, BJP won't believe that as well. But the inquiry is there. Lalit Jha is arrested. Lalit Jha will give his statement and the narratives will come out very soon. But the only problem I feel right now that everything is looking very easy, calm-headed. But I'll tell you, Shivani, the nation wants to know. The whole India, I'm telling you, maybe it's not getting, the news is not getting to you, but the country is scared. We are scared.
No, come on, don't make these statements. I'm sorry. This brings me to the point, once again, this brings me exactly to the point that I made to you yesterday as well, Tausif, which is that, spreading this feeling of paranoia, I am not going to allow that through my show.
No, but let me
feelings of paranoia, feelings of some mass injustice going on. In the past, people in political circles are guilty of spreading murmurs of a genocide happening in India. That is what is brainwashing a lot of people. I am not going to stand for that.
Shivani, the person who gave the access is not arrested.
So now you come to the MP. Now you come to the MP.
Tell me.
So you want, once again, that's the question I asked you, Tausif. If you want Pratap Simha, once again, if you want Pratap Simha to be arrested, why should your MLA who's also caught in a photograph with this accused not be arrested? By that logic, he should also get arrested.
That will come after an inquiry.
So why not the Pratap Simha part?
Pratap Simha accepted. And Pratap Simha clearly said his family, one of the accused family clearly gave the statement.
Accused family said so. That's not proof.
Exactly. They know the family very well.
No, that's what the accused family's version is. That's not investigation.
Let me complete. You're not listening to me. So Pratap Simha is still there. Inquiry is happening. Derek O'Brien suspended because he raised the question for the country. He was, according
to the media, is that why he was suspended?
Creating a ruckus. He was creating a ruckus inside the parliament because he was raising the issues for the country. Now, I have a simple question. BJP was saying that it happened before as well in 2001. You know what happened in 2001 inside the parliament? In just 3 working days after the attack on the parliament, Rajya Sabha held a discussion.
That's not the attack that they're talking about. That attack is different. That's a terror attack. Intrusions of this kind. 1 second, Tausif. Intrusions of this kind where somebody has come into the... I'll want you to speak, but you cannot be saying falsehoods on the show, right?
I have to give a reference. Where is my Prime Minister?
No, 1 second. You're jumping from one to another. Just hold on. I ask you one question, you jump to the other thing. I ask you another question, you jump to the third thing. 1 second. The references...
statement, Shivani.
Okay, 1 second. Okay, that's not the question I asked you. The question I asked you was of references being made. That please, you should take action against this MP whose office issued the passes. By that logic, even your MLA should be, in the dock.
Go ahead, the inquiry is still there.
Yeah, so let inquiry happen against Pratap Simha also. Why are you asking for his suspension?
No, but that is an immediate action we need.
Why?
He's the member of parliament.
But how have you appropriate guilt to him?
Why are you loitering around with Lalit Jha, with Tapas Rai? He said he doesn't know the person. He has not given anything in writing.
That's not the point. If by association or the fact that they were issued passes from Pratap Simha's office, you have tainted the MP, then by association, your MLA is also tainted.
The country is in danger. 150 crore people is at stake.
No, the country is not at danger. No, I am not going to allow these statements. The country is not at danger. I am not going to allow this fear mongering and absolute paranoia being spread.
It is absolutely correct.
No, it is absolutely incorrect.
My MP got suspended.
Absolutely incorrect. The country is not in danger. 150 crore people that you mentioned are not in danger.
The parliament is under attack.
This is exactly the kind of hyperbole that really is guiding this misguided activism that has reached the doorstep of parliament. I will say that.
Yesterday it was a gas can. It could have been an RDX.
It could have been anything. So don't create hyperbole on the back of this episode.
You are not taking it seriously. It's okay.
Of course, I'm taking it seriously.
As a public representative,
but I am not going to make hyperbolic statements like 150 crore people are in danger. This is exactly the kind of paranoia that should not be spread by political parties that have large following and certainly not representatives of political parties.
My MP has been suspended.
That's a separate case. The country has not come under danger because of Derek O'Brien's suspension. Please.
Why he got suspended? Why?
Yeah, I asked you that question. Why?
Why?
Because he's creating ruckus on behalf of the country. Again, a statement that is absolutely false.
He wanted to speak for the country.
No,
he wanted to raise the security concerns.
He was caught in the well. Allowed to peddle his propaganda for long enough.
He wanted to speak for the country.
For
That's
the
it. And
country.
if he's
Okay.
unheard,
Charu
of
Pragya.
course the ruckus will happen. He was unheard.
No, the
So,
ruckus should not
one
Shivani,
listened
now
happen.
do
to
you
him.
I
see
said
He
this
why I
wanted
yesterday
a
was
also,
mentioning?
suspension. It's as simple as
justifying
that.
ruckus in parliament because quote unquote you are speaking for the country or you're speaking for the rights of
We are
150
from
crore
Trinamool
people
Congress,
is
the
exactly the
biggest
kind of
crime.
nonsense that these four people tried to do. That's exactly
Sure.
the kind of stage that
You want
was
to cover
created
it,
for
Shivani,
these
you
people.
can cover it.
I'm not
Not an issue.
covering it, but I'm saying
You
that
can cover it.
narrative which is spread that you can create
Shivani,
ruckus for
can
your
I intervene,
grievances
please?
My
is a
Prime
problem.
Minister
Can I
is
come
busy.
in now, please,
The Home
Shivani?
Yeah,
Minister
Charu
is
then
busy
JB.
giving
Charu.
the conclave interviews.
Okay, now
He's
you
busy on the
understand
field.
why it was important for me to talk about the ideology of these Andolan GVs. It is the same language being spoken by TMC right now, the same propaganda they're trying to spread. They've lost elections currently. One of their alliance MPs has been caught with 500 rupees of cash. They see themselves losing this battle, and this is their way of coming back for it. Don't you see? It all seems so synchronized. And what is
No,
Tati
that's
saying?
separate. It
Country is
still
in
doesn't
danger.
take away
What
that. It
kind of
still
a
doesn't
statement
take
is
away
that,
from
and
the
why should
fact.
anybody listen to it?
This
And
still,
Shivani,
no,
most
Charu.
importantly,
It still
those
doesn't take
who were
away from the
pretending
fact
to
that the
speak.
ideology of these four people doesn't matter. 4 or 7 people doesn't matter. Ultimately, the buck stops with the security personnel.
The security personnel is an issue nobody is running away from. And because they are mentioning Mr. Simha, tell me, is it not the norm for all the members of parliament, especially because we have a new parliament, to try and get as many people from their constituency to see it? It is the norm. Unfortunately, a wrong person was chosen. It was an error in judgment and he admits to it. He is cooperating with the investigation. What does Tasi want? Now, if you are looking for connections, you can also look for the connection of Rahul Gandhi
What Derek
with a
O'Brien
lawyer
did?
who's jumping up
What
and
Derek
down to
O'Brien
defend
did?
the perpetrators.
What
What
my MP
about
did?
that? By
Shivani,
that
what
But
my
logic,
Charu,
did?
Charu, Charu, can I come in?
What was called-
Can I come in? JB, I'm just coming to
you.
you. JB, just coming to you. But Charu, this is terrible optics for the government to be suspending 14 MPs from the opposition a day after such an attack purely because they were demanding something. Yes, you could say the way they were demanding was wrong, but it's seriously bad optics.
Shivani, there are more than 500 MPs and sufficient number of them are from the opposition as well. Why is it that these 14 were suspended? Anarchy cannot pass on for speaking out on behalf of your people.
Okay.
I'm sorry. The
JB.
parliament cannot set a wrong example for that.
JB?
Shivani, there's something of this magnitude happened inside the parliament, and as MPs and in Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, we cannot be keeping quiet on this. Okay, and we followed the procedure in Rajya Sabha. We submitted the Rule 267 notice. In all India parties MPs, including like I am a party to it. We have submitted yesterday, today, asking for a discussion on this and for the Home Minister's reply. It's not the case that we have not followed the procedure. We have followed the procedure, which is part of the system of parliament. And
But JB,
definitely,
can
when
I
that
ask you,
demand
when
was
you
not
did
met,
follow the
when
system and that system was followed yesterday, Rule 62, 67 was invoked yesterday, why disrupt proceedings till then? Let's say you followed the process.
disruption, see, we followed the process. So when such a serious thing has happened, then it should be allowed. When it was not allowed, it's quite natural in a democratic system, in our parliamentary system, that we raise our voices. We all raise. We don't want, see, Derek O'Brien, definitely, he did what was required, and it was all of us did what was required. And it is very unfortunate that 14 MPs, including Derek O'Brien, got suspended. See, we all are party to it. It is not a single
Party issue,
person
yes.
or single MP.
Yes.
We all have taken it as a decision unitedly, and we will stand by that. We are not demanding the resignation of Home Minister. What did we ask? Let the Home Minister come to the Parliament and make a statement. Why is he so reluctant to do it when he
Okay.
can do it in a channel? Why can't he come to the Parliament and
Charu,
make
I'll
a
give you
statement?
30
That's all
seconds
we're asking.
again to specifically answer that question. Why the reluctance from the Home Minister to make a statement on this? It is a natural expectation, and then I want to go across to Yashwant Azad as well.
Shivani, this has been a pattern of the opposition, very unfortunately. You are concerned with getting the facts of the case. You're concerned with knowing what went on in the investigation. Is the Honorable Defence Minister not serious enough for you? Is the Honorable Speaker of the Parliament not serious enough for you? Every time
But
they
it's
do
not
this,
the
so if the Home
department,
Minister
no,
is
Charu.
speaking for Manipur, they'll say let the Prime Minister speak. If the Prime Minister is speaking, they'll stage a walkout. This is only a matter of them shifting the goalpost because they're only interested in making sure Parliament does not function. That's it. And of course, spreading their fake narratives and propaganda.
Yashovardhan Azad, you've while you
Charu
say,
should apologize for the tone she said about Manipur. People died there. This is not the way to say about Manipur. It's very sad.
Ma'am, Amit Shah ji responded on the floor of the House. Did he not give you complete facts? Did he not give you the background? Did he not give you the future roadmap? In spite of that, you continued to talk about it as if nobody from the government had taken responsibility or spoken about it. This is a very serious issue. It
The
was
fact
taken
remains
very
that
seriously by
Manipur
the
still
government.
burns,
I
Charu.
think the
Manipur
opposition
still
needs to do
remains,
some
and the way
introspection
you are
and figure out
responding
why is it that answers for them are not enough.
Okay. Can I just come in? Yashovardhan Azad, you wanted to come in, but I'll just ask this question one more time. While you made your opinion very clear of this MP pass business, it's clear that some sort of a lacuna has been found by people. And in the event that this has happened, it could give ideas to others as well. So do you feel that we could re-look at this pass system as well? Some sort of a stricter check could be done, or is that very difficult to implement?
No, we should come to it, but let me, say 4 very important things which should have happened. A common man, when he sees this kind of a breach in the citadel of democracy, he expected 4 things. Because the government itself has admitted the seriousness of the case. How? By instituting a UAPA case. I don't think a UAPA case is attracted in this, 16 and 18. However, if the government has instituted a case, then it was very, very important enough for a Home Minister to make a statement, preliminary statement, not even the Prime Minister, the Home Minister, because mind you, when the Standing Committee of Parliament looks at the Parliament security, it is the Home Ministry officials who are there to answer the question. That is why a preliminary statement was required, where he could have easily said, because you know exactly, in the first half an hour, what exactly was the security lapse. That's number 1. Number 2, the inquiry should have then been instituted to security specialists, in fact to NSA, with Chief of the IB and the CRPF security, because CRPF itself is not alone. It looks after the armed security. The other parts of security are also there. Third, that the highest echelon, the head should have role in the Home Ministry. That will come even after 2 days or wherever. And the fourth is that yes, opposition should have held their horses and said, okay, if you're doing this inquiry, we are willing to wait for 2 days, because this inquiry will not take more than a few hours. I can tell you with great authority. Lastly, about the MP's passes. Listen, Parliament is the citadel of democracy, and more people should see it. You cannot blame any MP. How can you institute a case against them? Do you think any MP would want that some of their visitors should go and jump inside the well of the House? No, I don't. I don't think so. So there is no mens rea, there is no intent. The system and you can't have a background check also, because in one day you cannot do a background check, right? So yes, the MP gives an undertaking, that is good enough. They should be more, in fact, particular about giving this. But Shivani, what is the more important thing? You ask the officials inside the Parliament, they say how the MPs ask them, "Arey bhai, itna zyada checking mat karo." They don't check the bags properly. They don't do due diligence properly because of the exercise of influence. Today, in fact, that particular day, the Chief of Security should have gone to Lok Sabha Speaker and said, देखिए आज ऐसी घटना हो चुकी थी और उसके commemoration में ऐसा आज कुछ नहीं हो, we will check even the shoes. That is the kind of security, idea which should be filled into the minds, and if you have that, then there is no problem.
Yeah, this is possibly a reminder that we need to be vigilant at all times, on all days. Even one lapse can lead to a catastrophic event. The security forces do have a thankless job, a very tough job, because they only have to fail once for those with nefarious tendencies to succeed. But that is why you need to have foolproof security and no possibility of human lackadaisical, error that should creep in, certainly when it's about the Indian Parliament. I do thank all of our guests for joining us. Moving on to some breaking updates coming in. Hardik Pandya has been named as the captain of Mumbai Indians. That's the big change that has been announced. With that, there will be some speculations on the future of Rohit Sharma as well. Remember, Rohit Sharma, the Indian captain in the T20, in the ODIs and the Test format, has not been the T20 captain. But now Hardik Pandya, who's been earmarked as his successor in T20 format, has also been appointed as the captain of Mumbai Indians. Let me also go across to K. Srinivas Rao, Group Editor of Sports. Srini, what happens to Rohit Sharma?
Well, Rohit is going to play the season under Hardik. He's not going anywhere. He's continuing to play. He's going to play for Mumbai Indians. And, I just spoke with the franchise and they were clear that they were looking forward. This is a very futuristic decision and keeping the next 3 to 5 years in mind. And when they identify, the thinking here is very clear. We have identified a captain. We know what responsibilities we are going to empower him with over the next 3 to 5 years. So once we have made up our mind on who our next leader is going to be, why not give him the charge right away, then, kind of wait and beat around the bush?
Yeah, so for a proper handover, for a proper handover, Chennai attempted something similar. You remember the entire Jadeja episode didn't quite work for them. But how smooth do you think this handover can be?
Even in Chennai Super Kings case, it wasn't really clarity of thought because Jadeja wasn't supposed to be their long-term captain. They had not really decided on their long-term captain. I thought that was still not such a clear move as much as how MI has gone with this, in terms of identifying Hardik, bringing him from another franchise, giving him that leadership role, showing him the big picture. If you go back 10 years, 12 years, this is exactly what Mumbai Indians had done with Rohit when they brought him over from the Hyderabad franchise, taking charges, and they, they showed him the big picture. They took the captaincy away from Harbhajan Singh, gave it to Rohit and said, this is how we are empowering you the long term, this thing for. So the franchise is known to kind of, plan things in advance. So
and then Hardik Pandya, somebody who's been with the team in the past, they did have somebody who is, the heir to the Indian captaincy as well. They had a very clear figure who was part of the system earlier. But I do want to ask you, does that mean that Rohit's IPL stint could be coming to an end soon? 1 season, 2 seasons?
That depends on Rohit. The answer to this lies only with Rohit. Is he capable of continuing for another couple of seasons? Very easily. Does he want to? That is something only he can answer. And I see one thing for sure: that the journey that he's had with Mumbai Indians, I really don't see Rohit playing for another franchise. This is going to be with Mumbai Indians as long as it lasts. So it's for Rohit to take a call on that. But this season, yes, he'll definitely play the season under Hardik, if he's fit.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. K. Srinivas Rao, thanks a lot for joining us. Coming up on the other side of a short break, a Plain Speak special. We'll get you efforts that are on, especially in the US, to reclaim the Hindu swastika that has been much maligned as a Nazi symbol. Stay tuned.
Hello, Moto.
Co-powered by.
To the parliamentary security breach are being asked this time. The first one is, why is Parliament manned by CRPF and Delhi cops? Now, this is very pertinent question. Even the opposition leaders have been time and again raising after especially this incident took place in the Parliament. Now, the next question that comes to the fore is, how can DG CRPF lead the probe into the lapses? Now, this is another question that has come to the fore. Another big question which comes to fore is about the parliamentary security breaches. Should there not be a probe by another agency? Should other security agencies also not get involved into this entire case? Now, another question that comes to fore is, why no action was taken against CRPF and Delhi police? Now, CRPF and Delhi police on board are majorly responsible for the parliamentary security. So, why was no action taken against them either? Now, shouldn't there be a statement by the Home Minister Amit Shah? Now, this is a question time and again being raised by several opposition leaders in the parliament also on why Amit Shah is not coming in front and giving a statement. Now, another question that comes to fore and is that should there be an overhaul of visitor system? Of course. Now, this is a big question, especially after all the accused were given a genuine ticket to enter into the Parliament building, should there be an overhaul of visitor system? Now, joining us on the broadcast is our legal correspondent Ananya Bhatnagar. A very good morning, Ananya. What more details do we have, and should there really be an overhaul of the checking system and the people visiting the Parliament?
Well, definitely, all of these questions are to be answered, in fact, and already 7 people have been suspended by security personnel of the Parliament have been suspended with regards to this security breach. But at this point of time, Queena, what is very, very important to note is that the police is having many breakthroughs. From the past night, they have arrested Lalit Jha as well in this particular case, and definitely this is the 6th arrest in this particular case. 2 people are already under under the detention of the police authorities. As we know, Vicky and his wife were under the detention of the Delhi Police Special Cell. They were interrogating him, but at this point of time, what emerges out from what has happened so far is that the Delhi police informed the Delhi court yesterday itself that these people were the ultra left people. These were having urban Naxalite ideology, and the whole and sole reason why they were there was because of unemployment and price rise. This was their way of protest, but this was a serious breach of in fact one of the most important buildings of the democracy, that is the Parliament of India. Not only this, what is also very, very important and crucial to note is that they had informed in fact the court about a pamphlet that was recovered from in fact these people, where there was written that missing that the Prime Minister is missing. That's exactly why another ideology shift pops up here. So that is very, very important. Apart from that, what has also been told by in fact the Delhi police to the court is that these people need to be taken to Mysore, Mumbai, Lucknow and various other places, and that's the reason why police had demanded a 15-day police custody remand. However, only 7 days of police custody remand was actually granted by the court. New accused is also now cropped up. Lalit Jha has also been arrested in this particular case. Another breakthrough coming in for the Delhi Police Special Cell. So where this investigation is headed, we'll get to know in a few days from now, when the Delhi Police actually comes up before the court after the 7 days of remand of 4 of these accused persons who were produced before the court yesterday and were arrested day before yesterday.
Right.
Will be over. We'll get to know what was their clear motive. And at this point of time, it is a very, very important to mention that the Delhi Police Special Cell had been working very precisely when it comes to this particular parliamentary breach. Sections of Terrorist Act have been invoked against these particular people. That might be a troublesome task, because securing a bail under a case of Unlawful Activities Prevention Act is something that is a Herculean task.
And according to the investigators, they suspect that phosphorus or phosphate-based chemical was used to spread the yellow gas inside the chamber. Now, according to the intel sources, these were the latest information that we have been informed to CNN News 18, that the act of intrusion doesn't appear to be innocuous protest. So these are the latest details that we have been getting in. These are the latest details that one unused can from the Parliament breach was sent for forensic analysis, and according to the investigators, a particular kind of chemical was used to spread the yellow gas inside the chamber. Now, Arunima continues to stay with us on the broadcast. Arunima, what more details do we have about this particular unused can that was actually sent for more analysis?
So we are told a total 7 cans were used. 5 were used outside when Neelam and Amol carried out their protest or their stunt on the Transport Bhavan side. 2 cans were smuggled inside by Sagar and Manoranjan, which was hidden inside their shoe. The sole of the shoe was specially altered so that these canisters could be hidden inside.
Right.
What was that yellow smoke? That is a big question that has been getting answer. Ojla, the MP who was who caught one of the intruders, even yesterday, which is more than 24 hours later, he still had that yellow stain on his hand, and there was a stench of chemical coming in from his hand. So it looks like it wasn't normal paint or normal color. Intelligence agencies and investigating agencies, and it's a joint investigation that is going on by Delhi Police and others are involved. They are suspecting that this could be phosphorus or a phosphate-based chemical, and they are worried that if this chemical, you get an exposure, a lot of exposure to phosphorus, you could suffer blisters or even burn injuries. So was the, quadrant aware of what they were using, the kind of chemical they were using? Was the ultimate purpose to cause some...
Welcome back. Today we bring you a special conversation on the misconceptions on the Hindu swastika that has pervaded society, especially in the Western world, to the extent that for decades the Nazi symbol of the hooked cross has been wrongly called swastika. In some cases, the use of the Hindu holy symbol has even been misinterpreted to be the Nazi symbol. Now, organizations like the Coalition of Hindus of North America have been running a campaign to destigmatize the Hindu symbol at a time when Israel is involved in a war and references to Nazi discrimination against Jews is being talked about all over the world. There has been a trend to confuse the swastika again with the Nazi hate symbol. Hence, this effort to tell the people the true history of the Indian swastika and how it is not the same as the Hacken Cruise becomes even more important. Now, Kona launched its swastika education campaign in the summer of 2020 in US when the state of New York was debating a bill that would have termed the swastika as a hate symbol with no nuance at all. Since 2020, they've managed to stop bills banning swastika in the state of New York, New Jersey and Maryland. In 2022, they scored a partial win in California when the state amended a similar bill to include the term Hacken Cruise for the first time, though they did unfortunately also insist on including the term Nazi swastika. Joining me now is a board member of the Coalition of Hindus of North America, Pushpita Prasad. Pushpita Prasad, thanks a lot for joining us here on Plain Speak in our studios. So this has been a campaign the Kona has been running for the last 3 years or so. Was it the legislations that were coming up in the US that were the trigger for it?
Absolutely, that was the trigger. Obviously, we were used to the problems that we have with the usage of our symbol, but what really triggered us to take action was exactly the New York bill, because it was written with no nuance, as you said, and it was basically going to teach kids to call 911 if they saw a swastika symbol. Yeah. Now think about that when you have a child growing up there, or you just have your child's friend come over for a play date, and they happen to go into your puja room and see a swastika, right? They'll get a little freaked out that, my God, I come from, like, my friend comes from a terrorist family or whatever. So massive impact on our just basic freedom of religion. So we launched a very aggressive education and advocacy campaign, and we reached out to the senator in New York State who had launched the bill and kind of walked him through the story, walked several of his colleagues. And so that was the start of our advocacy campaign.
Can I ask you, how has this been received? Are people familiar at all with the differences? Are they open to recognizing the fact that the swastika has become wrongly implicated with the Nazi philosophy?
So I think that's where education and advocacy comes in. So the answer is no. I live in the state of California. California is home to 40% of America's Buddhists, massive Hindu communities, Jain communities. Yet in the summer of 2022, I met with about 30 to 40 lawmaker or their officers, and I would say 95% of them did not even know that the swastika had an alternative meaning. So when we'd show them our slides, they'd be like, oh my God, like, this is just amazing. And that's actually really shocking, because when you're talking to a staffer, their job is to know the communities that they're representing.
Yes.
And so if they didn't have with that, and that's California, which prides itself on its diversity. It is a super diverse state. So there is a lot of ignorance, and I think there's a lot of ground to be covered.
But are they receptive to the idea that there needs to be a distinguishing here? And certainly the Hindu or the other Asian communities and faiths who use the swastika cannot be discriminated against, or they cannot be vilified for using this symbol, because this is going to be omnipresent in Hindus' houses.
It is. And so that's exactly been what we've been trying to educate on. And if you look at it, advocacy does work. We've had success, but it's a very sensitive topic, because Hindus, and we are definitely extremely sensitive to the horrors of the Holocaust. The problem in the West is when you start talking about this, they immediately first put you in the Holocaust denial camp, and so we always have to preface our thing by saying, look, we are absolutely sympathetic, and we completely understand the horrors that they went through. However, in some ways, you're actually, I always like to say, when you call Hitler's symbol the swastika, you're giving him more power in death than he had in life, because Hitler didn't like brown people of color of the Hindu faith or other faiths, but he never got to us enough to do us damage, right? But now in his death, by giving his symbol the name of swastika, you've actually given him enduring power that he didn't have over the Hindu, Buddhist and Jain communities while he was alive. And so that's one way to look at it. We are also very sensitive to working with, Jewish faith leaders, and we have a wonderful Jewish scholar who does some excellent work and comes and talks on this issue about it, and basically helps explain. And then we have, if you look at some of the coverage that we've got, some Jewish Holocaust survivors talk about how understanding that this symbol was not, the swastika was actually not what was used by Hitler, actually helped her, give her comfort and help her on the healing journey.
It's natural for the Jewish community to feel a little traumatized when they see the symbol, even though the Nazi symbol is different. Even in the way it is made or drawn, it is different than the Indian swastika or the Hindu swastika. But it's natural to make that connection and feel traumatized. So what is it that you tell the Jewish communities who may feel traumatized by looking at this symbol?
So I think this is also just, we always start with the fact that this work has been going on for a while, and about a decade ago there was actually a meeting between very senior Israeli rabbis and Hindu faith leaders, and they all agreed that this was a misappropriation. At that point, the fact that Hitler had never used the word swastika had not been gained that much prominence. But the highest faith leaders in Israel were extremely sympathetic and understood the history of the swastika. I think what was needed is to kind of take that sort of high-level agreement forward, and that's what we're trying to do with our advocacy campaign.
Possibly one of the best ways to get this message across will be through the Jews themselves, isn't it? If they were to come out and say that, don't confuse the swastika with the hooked cross that Hitler used, that message would be received a little bit better.
It would be, and that's why we certainly have a lot of emphasis on trying to educate the Jewish community. But at the end of the day, also one of the fundamental things to remember is that words and context really matter. And so, we're not denying the trauma of the Holocaust at all. And we are also completely sympathetic that, there'll be a certain number of people who will just never get over it. We're absolutely sympathetic to that. But like I said, you don't want to give Hitler more power, right, than he had and than he really had even when he was alive.
Yeah. What is it that you would tell people to distinguish the history of the Hindu swastika? And actually, I got to know through you that actually the swastika is a truly global symbol. It has been used in, Greek periods. It's been used by native Indian Americans as well. So just give us a little bit of context about what you have found to be the history of this symbol.
Yeah, so like I said, I think the swastika has been in use for a good 10,000 years, and it's a truly global symbol. Because of course, I think I won't go into it in the Indian context, but in Japan, it's known as the manji, and you'll find it on those Buddhas, and it raised in very similar sacred ways the way Hindus use it. Jains also use it. In America, the Native American tribes call it the whirling log, and they also use it. But unfortunately, they were actually they were asked to stop using it in the 1940s by the US government.
Because of the Nazi connection.
Because of the Nazi connection, which is really unfortunate if you think of the horrible history of the Native Americans and everything that they had undergone. But yeah, you can find the symbol all over the world, in medieval churches, in Ethiopian churches, in Greece and Italy. If you go to the museums, you'll find a lot of the archaeological digs from the Hellenic era and pre-Hellenic era featuring this symbol. You even find it in an ancient synagogue in Israel. So I think it's one of those symbols that is truly global. And that's why I think, when we talk about the history and when we talk specifically about Hitler, why did he use this symbol?
Yeah, exactly. I was going to come to that because that explanation is what will be sought by people whose minds you have to change.
Yeah, and again, there is no clear, we can only speculate, but Hitler grew up in the shadow of the Lamberg Abbey in Austria. And on the walls of the Austrian Lamberg Abbey is a very clear hooked cross, because this was commonly found among medieval and other churches as well. And so many people feel that is the inspiration. That was what he developed into his Hakenkreuz. He gave that very distinctive black on red and white iconography. The ones on the Lamberg Abbey is like a golden and a brown thing, but I think that's the same symbol. And so that is where the word comes from. And fun fact is, Germany never stopped calling it Hakenkreuz. They still call it Hakenkreuz.
But all over the world, everywhere except Germany, it somehow got misrepresented as
It
the
was a
swastika.
it was a translation error. So the first translation of Mein Kampf, which is obviously written in German, into English, translated it correctly, but that translation never became popular. The second translation by an Irish monk is the one that, for some reason, translated the Hakenkreuz into swastika, and that is what gained currency the world over, and that has now taken on a life of its own. But I always tell people, you don't need to know German, but you just need to look at the words, and when you see the Mein Kampf, where Hitler describes how he developed his Hakenkreuz, the word Hakenkreuz jumps out over and over again. There's no swastika in there.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, the Nazis were avid propagandists. They had their own publications. They published a daily newspaper for 10 years, and they called it the Hakenkreuz banner, not the swastika banner. And the Nazis had military honors that were named after Kreuz, you know, because Kreuz means cross. And if you think about it, it makes sense, right? If you're a military leader or a dictator and you want to motivate your people to do something,
It would be via religion.
well, and it would be a religion or a symbol that they're familiar with, right? Why would you import a symbol from halfway across the world from a faith that nobody knows and say, oh, well, this is going to motivate you to do better, right?
You know, this brings me to the other question, which is that it's not just the association of the swastika wrongly made with the hooked cross, but there are enough even historians or, you know, noted writers who have somehow claimed that Hitler was influenced by Hindu fascist ideology or vice versa. So actually people have tried to build on this connection, which was wrong to begin with, and somehow equate Nazism with some sort of Hindu fascism, which in itself is a tenuous claim.
There's no claim at all, actually.
Yeah.
So actually Hitler had a very low opinion of Indians because, you know, we were brown people and Hitler was all about racial purity. And even though he was at war with the British, he was happy that at least the British were ruling over us inferior brown people, right? So obviously he thought, you know, the best would be the superior German, Aryan, whatever to race. But in that absence, it was better that at least, you know, these brown savages were being ruled by the British. And you can remember, you can look up the treatment of Hitler and the Indian team in the Olympics, right? If he had any love for the Indian team, he certainly didn't show it. So I think this is one of the dangers of India and Hindus allowing this misrepresentation.
But do you feel that there is a particular lobby or a set of people who further this wrong narrative, the connection with swastika, the connection with Nazism to somehow, you know, Hindu ideology?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, if we don't correct this danger, it's actually going to go further and further. Because there's a set of Hindu-phobic players in the world that are now actually making connections that, you know, I wish if I could share. There was a tweet that Audrey Trutchke put out in fall of 2021. And she's like, you know, mostly the swastika is used in a positive context in India. I'm like, excuse me? Mostly? Like, who would use a swastika in a non-positive context in India, right? It would literally make no sense. Like, if I tried to use it as a hate symbol, it would be like, why is this person wishing me good luck, right? Like, it just doesn't make sense.
Nobody would get it.
Nobody would get it. But this is the danger, because in the era of Google, Google mistranslates the Hakenkreuz as the swastika, right? And more generations are growing up with this knowledge. So I think it's really important to fix that, because narratives never stop in one place. They just build on and get worse and worse.
How successful do you think you've been in the US to kind of arrest this narrative?
I think the fact that today many people even are aware of the word Hakenkreuz, that's a success in itself, because I think 4 or 5 years ago nobody knew about the existence of the word Hakenkreuz. And if you go to our website, there's one page we point to all the time, because it's not just Hitler who called it the Hakenkreuz. The press that was reporting on the rise of the Hitler also called it the Hakenkreuz, including the New York Times, the Jewish Free Journal, etc., right? And if you go to our website, you can actually click on each of those links, because of course people are like, oh, are you doctoring stuff? I'm like, no, click on that link. It'll take you to New York Times archival page. If you have a subscription, you can see what they wrote about in 1922, in 1933. So they were calling it the Hakenkreuz, and actually they called Hitler's followers the Hakenkreuzlers. That's how omnipresent the word was. And then
somehow it got corrupted.
Well, New York Times played a role in that. In 1933, they switched their own reporting, and they suddenly they wrote an article saying, oh, you know, the rise of Hitler and this ancient symbol from India. And it's like, dude, your own article was calling it the Hakenkreuzler, so why are you suddenly, you know?
No, it's the fundamental question, as you said, why would Hitler use an Indian symbol?
Why would he?
To motivate a German population for his own, for his own campaign. But I do want to finally ask you, Pushpita, for Americans, this is certainly a big danger, and nobody should be okay with the stigmatizing of the Hindu swastika. But why do you feel that the Indians in India should also be aware of this and should also join on this mission? Because the dangers are there for everyone, I think.
Absolutely. So I'll make it really personal, right? Every year, thousands and thousands of Indian students go to the US to start their studies. Thousands and thousands of workers go on H-1Bs and temporary visas. I always bring up the example of a student, right? A young 18-year-old, 20-year-old going into a dorm room, and maybe your dadi or your nani gave you a little good luck symbol, or you're carrying a little murti or a puja artifact. Highly, highly likely that you have a swastika on it, and you put it in your room, and in comes your dorm, your roommate, and completely has a freak out session saying, "Oh my God, I've been paired with a Nazi," right? And that's why context matters, because if your roommate was aware that this symbol had multiple meanings and multiple names, it'll take them a second. Just that, like, when we look at somebody wearing a cross, we don't immediately say, "Oh my God, I got white supremacists." No, you know what you're looking at from the context.
Yeah.
And the same for the swastika. So Indians are in deep danger, could be in danger themselves, and this is not hyperbole, right? There have been Indian students, there have been non-Indian students who have been doxxed and faced, had to apologize for having swastika. Indian, many residents who will put up a swastika on Diwali, and then they get a talking to from their, association or something. So this is an ongoing problem.
Very quickly, what next for you? How do you build on this campaign in US and otherwise?
So we're going to build on the success of the law on the legal side and run an education campaign, both on social media but also in the real world. So we work with law enforcement officers. We look at all over the country, and we're going to up that campaign. We're going to work more on that side. And then in January, we're actually on Makar Sankranti, we're actually going to do a social media campaign asking everyone to change their DPs to a swastika. So I hope everyone joins in.
Can I ask you very quickly, if you were to tell our viewers how they should respond to someone who tells them that, oh, you're using the Nazi symbol and you shouldn't be do so, as some aggressive behavior they face, what is it that people should tell those people to make sense to them, or to drive that conversation that please don't confuse the swastika with the Hakenkreuz?
That's the thing, right? Hitler never stole the swastika. Hitler stole the Hakenkreuz. So if anybody is objecting to the display, they need to take it up, and it's a Hakenkreuz that is the issue, not swastika. So let's not empower Hitler more in his death than he was in life. That's what I'd say. And people need to understand that we never gave up the word. We never gave up the symbol, right? So there's no need to take it back, because it was always ours. India was no party. Remember, India was a colony when all of this was happening, right? And so was in no position to fight back or make its case, because there were bigger priorities that a newly minted Indian government had to deal with. But that's not the case today. And so, for example, if the Indian government starts using the word Hakenkreuz in its literature, or using that could make a big difference itself.
No, absolutely. There's no excuse for Indian, literature to not do that.
Or for the Indian media, for that matter.
For the Indian media to not do that.
Right.
So it is important to even educate a lot of Indians to not misuse that term, because in normal parlance, that's what happens. We call it the Nazi swastika. Do you feel that this period, because of the Israel and the Jewish the fact that they underwent a Holocaust, etc., is being talked about a lot more? There are some people who've been caught on streets globally displaying even the Nazi symbol, and then it gets called the swastika. This period could be very key to actually hammer that message again, that don't call it the swastika.
Absolutely. And I actually think that's a way to demolish hate, right? Because this is a bit, because if you start to distinguish that, then when somebody sees a swastika, they won't take it as a hate symbol.
Yes.
As a Jewish person, I always say, right, or as a non-Jewish person who doesn't know the context, in California, there's some Buddhist monastery, right? You're up on a mountain road, you need help, your car broke down, you go up to the monastery, you don't know what the heck you are, where you are, but you see a swastika on its gates, and you freak out and you run back thinking, oh my God. Whereas you could actually get help, right?
Absolutely.
Or from Hindu mandir. So I think we all benefit from accurate knowledge and context.
Absolutely. The bottom line is that it is inaccurate to call the Nazi symbol the swastika, and that's really where it should end. Pushpita Prasad, thanks a lot for joining us on this Plain Speak special. With that, it's time for me to take your leave. The hard facts is coming up.
Viewers, mature societies with a deep commitment to equality and fraternity resolve disputes, particularly seemingly intractable ones, in two time-tested ways. First, by setting up a time-bound arbitration process that draws the two contesting sides into a structured dialogue to agree upon a preset objective. Second, through the courts. In fact, some of India's most thorny issues like territorial disputes, identity-related conflicts, and even differences over natural resources have been settled by our courts. So one would think that a dispute over something as fundamental, as divisive, as religious belief would be best adjudicated by a court intent upon a free and fair examination of facts. Hindu petitioners believe that the Eidgah Mosque in Mathura has been constructed over the raised remains of a temple built to consecrate the birthplace of Lord Krishna. Muslim petitioners say this is untrue, that Hindu petitioners have made up a story to claim that Mughal regent